In Hollywood, fame often comes with spotlights, secrets, and expectations. But for some stars, the bravest role they ever played wasn't on screen. It was being honest about who they are. Today, we're talking about 8 Hollywood icons who chose truth over silence. Their stories aren't about labels or headlines, but courage, timing, and self-acceptance. This isn't gossip. This is about visibility, legacy, and the power of living openly in an industry built on image. For millions of Americans, Jim Parsons will always be Sheldon Cooper, the socially awkward genius with a razor-sharp mind and zero filter. But behind one of television's most recognizable characters was an actor who spent years carefully separating his private life from his public success. When The Big Bang Theory premiered, it quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Jim's performance was precise, intelligent, and unforgettable, earning him multiple Emmy Awards and making him one of the highest-paid actors on television. Yet while his career skyrocketed, Jim kept his personal life intentionally quiet. Unlike many Hollywood stories, Jim Parsons didn't come out with a dramatic announcement. Instead, he allowed the truth to surface naturally, confirming what he never felt the need to hide, that he is gay and had been in a long-term relationship for years. There was no scandal, no fallout, just quiet honesty. And that quiet mattered. In an industry that often demands spectacle, Jim showed another path. You don't owe the world a performance of your identity. You just owe yourself peace. His openness never overshadowed his work. If anything, it added depth to how audiences understood him not just as an actor, but as a human being. Later, Jim married his longtime partner, Todd Spiewak, marking a personal milestone without turning it into a headline. His story reflects a shift in Hollywood, one where talent leads and truth follows without fear. Jim Parsons proves that sometimes the most powerful statements aren't loud. They're steady, confident, and unapologetically real. Matt Bomer looks like the definition of a classic Hollywood leading man. Tall, polished, effortlessly charming, the kind of actor many assumed was built for traditional roles and expectations. And early in his career, those assumptions followed him everywhere. When White Collar premiered, Matt quickly became a fan favorite. His performance was smooth, intelligent, and magnetic, earning him both critical praise and a massive audience. Yet behind the scenes, Matt chose a quieter path. He didn't make a formal announcement. He simply lived honestly. In 2012, during an acceptance speech at the Steve Chase Humanitarian Awards, Matt publicly thanked his husband and children. It wasn't framed as a revelation, it was framed as gratitude. And that moment said everything. What made Matt Bomer's story resonate in American culture was its normalcy. There was no reinvention of his image, no dramatic shift in his career. He continued to book major roles in film, television, and theater, from Magic Mike to The Normal Heart, where his performance earned widespread acclaim for its emotional vulnerability. Matt showed that masculinity and openness aren't opposites. That being a family man, a romantic lead, and a gay actor can exist in the same sentence without explanation. In an industry once obsessed with secrecy, Matt Bomer offered a new model: quiet confidence. His story isn't about defiance, it's about balance. About letting your work speak while your life stays real. And sometimes, that kind of authenticity is the most powerful statement of all. Neil Patrick Harris grew up in the spotlight, but not the kind that allowed for authenticity. From his breakthrough role as a teenage doctor to becoming a household name in Hollywood, Neil quickly realized that success often comes with expectations, especially for a young male actor in America. For years, he kept certain aspects of himself private, not out of shame, but out of caution. In the early 2000s, the film industry still believed that leading male actors had to conform to a certain image. Then, in 2006, Neil chose clarity over rumors. He publicly confirmed he was gay, speaking about it calmly, directly, and in his own way. What happened next surprised many. Instead of limiting his career, Neil's talent spoke volumes more than stereotypes. He went on to play Barney Stinson in How I Met Your Mother, one of the most outspoken and confident characters on television. Audiences didn't see the labels. They saw the variety, the timing, the precision.
Comedy at its peak.
Off-screen, Neil built a life that was equally public and purposeful. He married his longtime partner, David Burtka, and together they built a family based on love, balance, and humor. In interviews, Neil never presented himself as a sensational headline, but simply as a fact. His story challenges one of Hollywood's oldest myths, that honesty comes at the cost of opportunity. For Neil Patrick Harris, honesty didn't narrow his path. On the contrary, it broadened it. He proved that in America, when talent meets truth, the spotlight doesn't dim. Sometimes, it shines even brighter. Zachary Quinto built his career playing complex, often dark characters, men driven by intelligence, ambition, and inner conflict. From villains to visionaries, his performances always hinted at depth beneath the surface. But for a long time, one part of his own story stayed off-screen. Early in his career, Zachary chose privacy. Not because he was hiding, but because Hollywood still sent mixed signals about openness. Then in 2011, following the tragic loss of a close friend to suicide, Zachary made a decision rooted in purpose. He publicly came out as gay, explaining that visibility mattered especially for young people who felt unseen. That moment wasn't about headlines. It was about responsibility. Zachary didn't position his identity as a limitation. Instead, he continued to take on powerful roles, most notably as Spock in the Star Trek reboot. Playing a character defined by logic and restraint, he brought emotional clarity and restraint that resonated with audiences worldwide. His career didn't slow down, it sharpened. Off-screen, Zachary became more vocal about mental health, equality, and the cost of silence. He spoke like someone who understood that representation isn't just symbolic, it can be life-saving. In American culture, Zachary Quinto represents a modern kind of courage. Not loud, not performative, but intentional. His story shows that coming out doesn't have to be dramatic to be meaningful. Sometimes it's simply choosing to be visible when it matters most. And in doing so, Zachary turned personal truth into quiet impact, the kind that lasts. Billy Porter never asked for permission to be himself, and that's exactly what makes his story impossible to ignore. Long before red carpet moments and viral fashion statements, Billy was a classically trained performer with Broadway credentials, discipline, and undeniable talent. But talent alone didn't shield him from an industry uncomfortable with difference. Billy came out as gay early in his life, but his journey with identity was layered, shaped by race, masculinity, and expectations placed on Black men in America. For years, he worked consistently, yet quietly, often overlooked by a system that struggled to place him into a box it understood. Everything changed with Pose. As Pray Tell, Billy didn't just play a role, he embodied a voice for an entire community. His performance was raw, elegant, vulnerable, and unapologetic. In 2019, he became the first openly gay Black man to win an Emmy for lead actor in a drama series. It wasn't just a personal win, it was a cultural moment. Billy's fashion choices soon became statements of freedom, redefining masculinity on red carpets traditionally ruled by rigid norms. Skirts, gowns, tuxedos for Billy, clothing wasn't shock value, it was language. In American culture, Billy Porter represents liberation through visibility. He doesn't soften himself to be accepted. He expands the definition of what acceptance looks like. His story reminds us that progress doesn't always arrive quietly. Sometimes it walks in bold, dressed in truth, and refuses to shrink. And in doing so, it makes space for everyone else to stand taller. Anderson Cooper built his career on credibility. In American journalism, that reputation is everything. Long before audiences knew anything about his personal life, they trusted his voice, calm in chaos, steady in crisis, and grounded in facts when emotions ran high. As a correspondent and anchor for CNN, Anderson reported from war zones, disaster sites, and some of the most intense moments in modern history. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing truth. And for years, he believed his private life didn't belong in the conversation. That changed in 2012. In a short, thoughtful statement, Anderson publicly acknowledged that he is gay. There was no press tour, no dramatic reveal, just honesty, delivered the same way he delivered the news, clearly and without apology. He explained that he never felt ashamed, but he also didn't want his identity to overshadow his work. The response was overwhelmingly supportive. What made Anderson's story powerful wasn't just that he came out, it was when and how he did it. By that point, he had already earned America's trust, his integrity was established, and his openness didn't weaken his authority, it strengthened it. Later, Anderson embraced fatherhood, becoming a single dad, and speaking openly about love, family, and vulnerability in ways that felt deeply human. His story reflects a shift in American culture where strength and openness can coexist. Anderson Cooper didn't redefine journalism by coming out. He redefined what leadership looks like in the public eye. Honest, measured, and quietly brave. Ian McKellen's voice carries weight not just because of his Shakespearean training, but because of the life experience behind it. Long before Hollywood blockbusters and red carpets, McKellen was already a respected actor on the British stage, known for his discipline, intelligence, and emotional depth. In 1988, at a time when being openly gay could still end careers, Ian McKellen chose honesty. He came out publicly during a radio interview while speaking against a proposed anti-gay law in the UK. For him, this wasn't about publicity, it was about principle. Silence, he believed, helped no one. Years later, Hollywood embraced him. From X-Men to The Lord of the Rings, McKellen brought complexity and humanity to characters that could have easily been one-dimensional. His performances as Magneto and Gandalf weren't just powerful, they were layered, empathetic, and deeply human. Many fans later connected those qualities to the wisdom of someone who had lived openly and thoughtfully. In American culture, Ian McKellen represents something rare. A public figure who never separated artistry from integrity. He didn't wait for permission to be himself. He led by example, especially for younger actors who needed proof that honesty and longevity could coexist. More than a legendary actor, Ian McKellen became a bridge between generations, between fear and acceptance. His story reminds us that courage doesn't age, and when truth is spoken early, it echoes far longer than applause. Ellen DeGeneres wasn't just a comedian who made America laugh, she became a cultural turning point. In the early 1990s, Ellen was one of the most recognizable faces on television, starring in a hit sitcom and selling out comedy shows across the country. At the height of her success, she made a decision that would change her life forever. In 1997, Ellen came out as gay, not quietly, not off camera, but publicly, on the cover of Time magazine and through her TV character at the same time. At that moment, Hollywood wasn't ready. America wasn't ready. The backlash was immediate. Her show was canceled. Sponsors pulled out. Opportunities disappeared almost overnight. For a while, it seemed like telling the truth had cost her everything. But Ellen didn't disappear. She evolved. Years later, she returned not with bitterness, but with kindness. The Ellen DeGeneres Show wasn't just entertainment. It was built on empathy, humor, and connection. She danced onto daytime television and into millions of living rooms, becoming one of the most trusted and beloved hosts in America. Ellen's story isn't just about being gay. It's about resilience, about losing it all and coming back on your own terms. She showed that authenticity, even when it's punished at first, can ultimately redefine success. In an industry obsessed with image, Ellen proved something powerful. Being yourself isn't a weakness, It's a long game. And sometimes, it changes the culture forever. These 8 stories remind us that visibility changes more than careers. It changes culture. Each of them chose honesty in an industry built on image. And in doing so, they opened doors for countless others. If any of these journeys moved you, take a moment to reflect on why. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear these stories today. Your support helps keep these conversations alive.